Welcome to Microsoft Flight Sim with the Rudeman, and I've been playing this for about a week. I've played this game off and on since it came out, and this is its 40th year, and I had it on one of my earliest PCs, so it's been a while, but I've never played it. I've turned it on, I tried to take off, I crashed, and I'd turn it off. And I've done that hundreds of times trying to get into this game. The main problem is it's very complicated. Because you're basically learning how to fly, and flying's not easy. And so I want to get into this. I've been playing it for a week, and I've been working very hard trying to learn everything you need to know to get off the ground and be safe. So, but today I hooked up my Track IR, which is the thing that lets me look around by just moving my head. And I want to give it a test fly and see how it works with the flight sim. So I'm going to do a very, very simple flight today just to test this thing out and to try to show you that, yes, I can take off and yes, I can crash. Now, I chose this plane because I like it, and it's got a glass cockpit and it has Garmin GPSs. So let's go in and take a look. Okay, so first of all, you're looking at the cockpit, and okay, I don't have a yoke. Let's turn that on. They let you turn those on and off so that you can see everything that's underneath them and around them and stuff. Makes it a little bit easier. So let's take a quick look here at the cockpit, and let's take these away so we can see. You can see right away that we have a glass cockpit, which means that all the instruments are glass. We have two Garmins here. This one will have all of our instruments, and this one will have your route, your map, your flight map, all that kind of stuff. They're interchangeable, which means that the co-pilot can do whatever. You can swap them if you want to. But we're just going to do a very simple startup here, and I'll go over a little bit of the switches and gauges and stuff like that as we go. First of all, I want to put the standby power on so that we get a little bit of power to the first Garmin. And we'll let that heat up. While that's heating up, it's going to give us some warnings. One, we don't have oil pressure because the engine's not running. And two, we got low volts because we're on a standby battery, and low vacuum, again, because nothing's running. These are your controls, your gauges and everything right on this Garmin. The master alternator and the master battery. And then we hit your avionics bus 1 and bus 2. That's going to turn the second Garmin on, and it's going to fully power the plane. I'm talking about electrical power. So once the other one's up, we can turn it on. And as you can see, there's our map with all the destinations and stuff. This is where you'd set your flight plan and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do a simple flight plan just to and from today, and that's going to do it. So, all right, so let's get started. First of all, let's go over to this one, and I'm just going to do a direct flight GPS today rather than put in a bunch of flight plan and that kind of stuff. So first of all, we're just going to go. Oh, by the way, we're in Portland, Oregon. This Portland's airport, which is PDX. It's KPDX. We're going to do a direct flight, and we are going to go to Redmond, Oregon. That's where I have my condo that we use once in a while. So our destination is going to be KRDM. I got that in there. It's Roberts Field in Redmond, Oregon. And we're going to enter that. We'll enter that and activate it. And that gives us our route from KPDX, which is Portland, to Redmond. We can pull this thing out by using this range button. All right, and that's where we're headed. Now that we've got our destination and we're going to set our altitude, I'm going to use the vertical speed. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but I'm using vertical speed. We'll just click on that, and we need to then set, I think I'm going to go for like 6,000 feet to start with. I don't want to go too high because I want to see the ground. I want to sight see. So I turn this knob and it puts 6,000 up here. And then I want to make it put the nose up. So we'll click on this a couple of times. And then that should be set. We are set up for GPS right here. And to change that, we'd hit this CDI. Change it to location 2. And then back to GPS. We're going to use the GPS today. So, and that's about all I need to do, really, at this point. If we need to make changes, we can always do that when we're up in the air. Alrighty. Let's put the yokes back in. Oh, let's set our lights. We haven't started the engine yet, so let's do that. This is your magneto here. We're going to put it, you've got 2 magnetos. We're going to set it to both, and then we're going to start the engine. All right, that gets that. And then we need to set our lights. We need now that the engine started, you're required to put your beacon on. So I'll do that. Now, what that is if you look at the outside of the plane, you'll see on the back tail, there's a red light blinking right there. It's very faint. You can see it brightly at night. But right there's a little blinking beacon. Okay, that tells everybody on the outside of the plane that there's a propeller running or an engine running. And so that's required once you start your engine. Then we're gonna use our taxi lights, and we're gonna hit our navigation lights and our strobe light, and we're set to go. Now there's a couple things you can do. We got a parking brake here. We've got your pitch trim here. This is your fuel tanks. It's set in the center, so it's pulling fuel from both tanks. This is your throttle, and this is your mixture, your fuel mixture. Now we can mess with that. I generally don't, but you can kind of mess with that to get better fuel economy. So when you first start the engines, you have the mixture all the way in, which is using as much fuel as you can get. But you might want to make it a little more economic. So you put your RPMs up like I've done, and you pull the trim mixture knob out until it starts to stall. And then you push it back in to when it's running well, and that's where you leave it. Now, that's the simplest way to do it. There. And put it back. And you can set it right there. You notice it's not all the way in, but it's not all the way out either.
November 745 for requesting the end of pushback.
Now there's other ways to trim it. That's just the easy one that I do.
For request to end pushback received.
And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but so be it. Let's put our yokes back in for immersion's sake.
Portland ground Airbus November 74534 with Alpha ready to taxi IFR.
All right, we're getting ready to take off. I didn't choose a runway. I'm just going to grab one. Just a test flight. So let's take the parking brake off. I forgot I had the taxi ribbon in. That's what this is. It's a beginner's thing, so you can find your way out to the proper runway. We'll see where this one takes me. I didn't really set one. Okay, here's a runway.
Portland Tower Ranger 159er ready at runway 28 left departing straight out.
Ranger 159er, altimeter 29er, decimal 9er 2, wind 255 at 4. Departing straight out approved.
Okay.
Cleared for takeoff runway 28 left.
So I'm Ranger 159.
Cleared for takeoff runway 28 left Ranger 159er.
And you might wonder why there's a female voice. It's because my co-pilot is running that. My co-pilot runs the radio while I fly. And if you look, you'll see I've got a co-pilot and sitting next to me. All right, there. All right, let's get out of here. Now, I'm still practicing with the runway stuff because the way you steer the plane on the ground is by this rudder back here. And you use foot pedals to do it. And they're very sensitive. I'm still working on trying to get the foot pedals set to where I can use them easily. So if you put the right one in, the rudder moves. Left one, right one, there you go. But those rudders are also your brakes. And it's the toe brake. You push your toe forward and that brakes. So a lot of people put their feet on the bottom of the pedals so they're not braking at the same time. It's hard to get used to using the pedals. Anyway, let's see if we can get this done. Now the other thing is, if you're in a country like where I live, it's always windy. And so you have to use those pedals to stay straight down the runway. And it's not easy. Now I need to adjust the sensitivity so that it's not so sensitive. And I haven't found a setting yet, but we'll get there. And we're off. Now I'm going to get up in the air. We are using GPS, which means I can use the autopilot, but I'm not quite there yet. I want to get a little distance away and a little bit of altitude. And then let me pause the game here a second, and we're going to take a look at the map over here. And you can see that my plane, my representation on the map, I'm going the opposite way that I need to go. So that's why I'm saying I'm going to get out away from the airport a little bit and get a little altitude before I turn around and come back and get on route. Now, on this map, this is Portland, Oregon. And now the state, north is this way. That's north. So you're looking at the ocean right here. So this is the west coast. And that KAST, that's Astoria. I think that must be Tillamook right there. I'm not quite sure. That might be Newport. I think that's Newport right there. So this is the Oregon coast. And this is the Columbia River. And if you look, the Columbia River is a big river. But look how big the mouth is. Now there's a bridge at Astoria that goes across the mouth of the Columbia. And it's just shy of 5 miles long. And of course, this is the border between Oregon and Washington. So when you cross the Columbia, the border of Washington and Oregon is right on the Columbia here. So once you're halfway across that bridge, you're entering Washington from Oregon.
74534, altimeter 29er, decimal 9er, 2 wind 255 at 4. Cleared for takeoff runway 28
All right, let's start this show up.
28 right Airbus, November 74534.
I'm going to start turning here and see if we can line up with our GPS mark. All right, so I've lost my, there we go. I got it back. All right, if we look at our little map over there, you can see we're almost lined up on that. And if you look straight in front of me, right in here, you'll see that there's our route right there, but we're not quite on the mark. This line over here will line up over there when we're on the mark. But anyway, yeah, I'm kind of straying a little bit. But we'll get lined up on that. I've dropped my speed just a little bit. We're only at
Airbus
1100.
534 contact Portland departure on 127.85. Good day.
We're at 1,000 feet right now. We're going to be climbing.
Portland Tower, generic November, 3709er, 711 miles southeast.
Let me see if I can get the autopilot going. First of all, you hit the navigation mode,
Generic November,
and then hit autopilot.
37097, Portland Tower.
And we should be linked up
Altimeter
with our
29er,
route.
decimal 9er, 2 wind 255
I'm no longer
at
flying.
4. Cleared ILS runway, 28 right approach.
We can kind of look out the window. I'm not flying anymore. The plane is.
Cleared ILS runway,
And
28
we should
right
be
approach,
climbing.
Generic 09er 7.
The autopilot knows that I set it at 6,000, and it is slowly climbing. Now, I set the rate of climb. So I could have set it a little bit more or a little less. Doesn't matter. We got a long trip, so that's not a terribly long trip, but we got plenty of time to reach that 6,000 feet. And that's a little high. I might bring that down once we get out of here, because I like to kind of look out the window and see the scenery. And 6,000 is kind of high. But we've got a mountain range to go over, so I don't want to be too low either.
Ranger 159er, leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
Portland Tower Ranger 159er frequency change. Portland Approach Ranger 159er is type Cessna Skyhawk 5 miles south of Portland, 1,700 feet.
Okay,
Request
that's
clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
that's us that they're talking about.
Ranger 159er Portland approach. Squawk 5224.
Okay, the squawk is a
Squawk
transponder,
5224 Ranger 159er.
and that's right here. We're at 1,200, and she just changed it to
Ranger 159er
to
radar contact
5,224.
5 miles northwest of 26 Oscar Romeo, 2,000 feet. Cleared through the Charlie airspace.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace Ranger 159er.
Okay, the next thing we need to know about is the barometer. That's what this 2992 is. And I can change that to whatever I need to, but I think 2992 is the standard for now. Let's see, I'll hit the cheat button, and it doesn't change it. So as we're flying into different locations, hopefully the air traffic controllers will tell us to change the barometer if it needs to be changed. So, interestingly enough, I'm told you that this is a test run for my Track IR. Now, the Track IR is wonderful for me because I can look around without having to hit all kinds of keyboard buttons. But it might be not so good for somebody watching the video. So, I may or may not fly with the Track IR if I'm recording. I do have buttons on my HOTAS that take me to certain locations, certain camera views. Now, for example, I'm gonna flick a button here, and it's gonna take me to my main Garmin there, so that I can quickly get there and back again if I need to change something. I have a second button that takes me to that one. Okay, I have a button that I can push if I want to zero in on the cockpit, and another one to raise me up so I can look over the cockpit so I can see. Now, this one is good for if you're taking off. You can set up so you can see the runway. It's also good if you're landing, because you can look up and find your airport easier. So that one's kind of built into the game. It's just the space key. The F key puts you centered. So now with the Track IR, I can lean back in my chair and it leans my view back, or I can come forward like this and look. And that's why the Track IR is good for me. I can look out the right and left. You know, it's easy to see where my flaps are at. I don't have any flaps down or up right now, but the Track IR is good for me, but I don't know with me moving my head around like this if that's good for the recording, because it's going to make you guys sick. Or it wouldn't me. So I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to think about that. I've been flying for a whole week without track IR, and I've done perfectly fine because I've done this with the keyboards, the switches that I have. In the airline that I flew, the airliner that I flew, I have 6 or 7 different key sets that give me all the controls, because on the airline there are controls way up on the ceiling. There's controls back and back of you. There's controls everywhere.
Squawk 1200. Frequency change approved, Ranger 159er. Portland approach, Ranger 159er is type Cessna Skyhawk 1 mile south of 2 Oscar Golf Tree 3,700 feet. Request flight following.
Ranger 159er, Portland approach. Squawk 7167.
Okay, they're going to change that transponder again.
Squawk 7167, Ranger 159er.
Okay, I didn't do that. The co-pilot's doing
Ranger
that.
159er radar contact 2 miles south of 2 Oscar Golf Tree 3,900 feet. Altimeter 29.902.
Roger, Ranger 159er.
And let's look around. I've been messing around with the track IR. As you can see, we're kind of on route. I got off route because I was messing around with it.
Roger, generic 06 kilo.
But the autopilot has us back on track. So if you look at the little map up here, you can see we're kind of on the right track. I got off a little bit. Got off a little bit this way when I was messing around, and then back across it, and now we're back. And it's pretty much following it. Now, this map up here, a lot of people think it's worthless, and it kind of is. I don't know. It doesn't, here's the thing about this map here. If you bring it up, yes, it's up in the way up here, but you can minimize it, or you can turn it off. But I'll show you why it's handy for me. If we're looking at this map, we can see a lot more information, right? But to zoom the map in and out, and you can't move the map, you have to use the range here. And it's a pain in the butt to have to use this. You have to do it in clicks.
57 kilo, you are 11 miles northeast of 7 Sierra Tree. Maintain present heading and altitude.
Where this one up here, you can grab it with your mouse and you can move it anywhere you want. You can zoom it in, zoom it out just with the mouse wheel. And it does give you quite a bit of information. You can zoom it right back down till you see the airport if you need to. So this one is kind of handy, although a lot of people think it's worthless. I don't. I think it's just fine. It's easy to use. And you can put it away if you like. It doesn't have to be in the way. Got a few clouds up here today. You can set the weather. This is actual weather that I set for scattered clouds, or you can have actual weather if you want. I was flying this morning where it's raining out and it's foggy. It was early morning, and I'm talking about real life weather. And I set the flight I was on this morning to real weather, and I was flying through fog and rain, and I flew into Portland, and I had to get down to almost ground level before I could see through the fog, and I got down to almost landing level before I could see the airport. So yeah, you can fly with real weather and real traffic. I don't fly with real traffic. I do fly with a little bit of AI traffic, and that's what you're hearing on the radio when they're not talking to me. they're talking to other planes out there that are just generated by the game. You can set it to have other people that are playing in the game. So, you know, if you're flying multiplayer and things like that, you can have that kind of traffic. I'm still learning. I don't want to mess with other people's traffic, because then I'd have to watch which runway I was on, and you know, because there's other. You may be landing on an airport that somebody else is taking off from, and not even realize it because you're just trying to learn. So I don't have any of that turned on at the moment. Hopefully someday I'll get into it to where it's more realistic. But as you can see, we did climb up to 6,000 feet, and you know we're staying there. So the autopilot brought us up to 6,000, and we're just kind of cruising there. And like I said, I've got some mountains to go over, as you can see coming up. Once I get over the mountains, I'm going to have to bring it down. I don't want to be at 6,000 feet when I get close to Redmond. I'll completely overshoot the landing zone. So as soon as I get past these mountains, I'll come down. This doesn't really show us anything. I'm not quite sure. I think you can set that. Yeah, okay. And it is showing you that I'm going through some mountainous areas. It doesn't give you much, though. And I think that's why a lot of people think it's just worthless. But it's really not, because you can control it so quickly by just using your mouse and moving it around. Believe it or not, that other one is hard to use, because especially with track IR, I'm moving all the time. When I have to grab that thing right there, and you use your mouse wheel to adjust it, and it's a pain. It really is. You just have to click, 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 click. It's a pain in the ass. But it is what it is. So anyway, during the flight, you can see that I'm kind of jumping around. It's because I'm still testing the track IR. I'm not quite sure if I like it. It does give me an advantage that I can look around, but I keep losing the signal. So if I'm looking around, like I'm kind of losing the signal. Let's see if I can make it work. I mean, it's kind of handy for me to look around, but it's kind of a pain in the ass at the same time. It's not doing it now, but earlier I kept losing the complete signal, and I'd be looking off like that, and I'd have to shake my head and get the signal back, and sometimes that didn't work. So it was at a moment where I'm trying to do something down here, and all of a sudden it goes, you know, off. Now it's stuck there. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on, and I cut a lot of that out. So if you look at the map, I had flown probably, let's see, from Portland, I'd flown clear out into here that you didn't get to see because I was dinking around. But it took me way off. I was way out here, and then I was way over here, and finally I brought it back online, quit messing around.
125.8 for Ranger 159er.
What?
Seattle Center, Ranger 159er, 6,000 feet.
Yeah, that's
Ranger
us.
159er, Seattle Center altimeter 29er.92. Continue as planned.
Okay, it's telling us to stay at this barometric pressure right here, which is supposedly sea level. I think. Again, I'm still learning, but we'll say that's what it was for now. See, I just lost the signal, and now I have to shake my head. Hopefully it comes back. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose the signal at a time when that I shouldn't. There it went again. Don't know for sure what's causing it. I know that normally the way Track IR works is there's a camera on the monitor, and there's sensors that you put on your either a baseball cap or on the side of your headphones. That's where I've got mine. They're velcroed to the right side of my headphones. Now, when I was talking about baseball cap, I reached up like I was tipping my hat, and my arm got in the way of the camera and threw me off. So that may be what was happening before. Now the problem is, normally I had a small monitor, and the camera was a lot lower than it is right now. The camera right now is about 6 inches over my head, or higher than my head, because I've got a big 32-inch monitor. I got a 32-inch curved monitor, and like I said, normally the camera would be a lot lower. It would be at my head level, and it's not. And I'd have to sit way up here for it to be head level. And I don't want to sit that high. I won't be able to reach the pedals. So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to continue using it or not. I'll just have to decide. Like I said, there are ways around it, like switches that do this. And, you know, it's pretty simple to fix. Yeah, so the other way for me to look around is just to use my mouse. I right-click to hold the camera, and then I move the camera around with my mouse like that. That's not bad. See, I'm moving my camera with my mouse. That's not bad. It really isn't bad. The only thing is, once I let go, it's stuck at that view. Now, like I said, there is a button that if I'm stuck at this view will bring me back to the center. Just one button does that. So, and then the space bar brings me up. So it's not too bad if I'm doing this and I just hit that button, I'm right back again. Well, let's see what's going on outside.
Seattle Center, Cessna November 8100, Victor 12,000 feet.
12,000 feet?
November 8100, Victor Seattle Center altimeter 29.902. Continue as planned.
That's not that high. This is called, I'm going to blow the term. There's a term for it. There's low altitude flights and high altitude flights. This plane is rated for low altitude, which means I think the limit would be either about 14,000 feet. I'll have to look that up. But if you're flying an airliner, of course, you're going to want to be a lot higher than that. So, like, you could fly an airliner 32,000 feet and that kind of thing. But this plane is not rated for, you know, high-level flying. High-altitude flying, I should say. Now, this is where I got to be careful because I'm flying over a mountain range. Now, I think I'm high enough at 6,000 feet to get over this, but I may have to go up a little higher to get over that range over there. And I might try doing that right now, actually. There's no reason why I couldn't. Yeah, see, I might have a little trouble getting
Ranger
over that range.
159er, contact Seattle Center on 128.15. Good day.
That's us. So she'll change that over here.
128.15 Ranger 159er.
Or there.
Seattle Center, Ranger 159er, 6,000 feet.
Ranger 159er, Seattle Center altimeter 29.902. Continue as planned.
So she's taking care of the radio stuff, which is good for me. So anyway, let's go over to this one, and we're going to hit vertical speed again, and we're going to push that button in there, and then we're going to adjust this up to, I don't know, let's go 9,000 feet, and then we'll raise the rate here. We'll give it some uptick here. Okay, as you can see, we're now going up above 6,000. I'm only doing 200, 300, 400, 500 feet a minute. Normally I would take it up 6, but I'm still quite a ways away, so I got plenty of time to get up there. I might look at it. I don't know. It's not. It's dropping back down again. All right, hang on. I'll fix that. Okay, if we look at it now, I've set it for 600 feet a minute, and it'll come up a little bit faster. We're almost up to 6,500. But as I said, I can make it over this range, which I just did. It's that range I'm a little worried about. And that's kind of cool when you're out looking like this. You still have all the information that you need over here and over here. Yeah, I might give it a little bit more power. I didn't realize I should have this up. You know, I'm in the green, so I'm okay. But I should be a little bit higher. And the only thing I have to worry about is this engine here. We're in the green here. We don't want to get in the red. So if I put too much of a climb on, I may just get into the red. And a couple things will happen. This will drop in there, but the other thing is, if you go inside, there's your RPMs right there. And if you put too much tax on the engine, that's going to start blinking and giving you a little bit of a notice. So I try to stay out of there. Stay in the green, but keep your speed up. So especially if you're climbing. I went ahead and boosted up full power. So we know we're back on track. We're doing GPS. GPS is the I don't know what they call that. Is that magenta? I think that's a magenta color. And up here, I keep losing the camera. Here's our information. We're on GPS tracking. Autopilot is on. That's your vertical speed, and it shows that it's rising from 6,000. We're doing fine. We're at 7,900 now. God, I keep losing that camera. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to continue using this. It's a pain in the butt. I think it would work better if I used a smaller monitor, but I don't want to do that. And it's because of where the camera's located. Like I said, it's six inches above my head, but it's setting on top of the monitor. So it's about maybe 1.5 feet from me. Maybe not even that far. Maybe it's about 14, 16 inches away. But I keep losing it, and everything gets in the way. There, it did it again. Yeah, it's a pain. So, well, that's why I did this flight, is to test that. Now, you see that we're on GPS, and that's the minutia. That's the magenta. And that arrow there is our wings. And the pinkish color is the GPS. The yellow color is actual us. And they're pretty much in sync, if you will. So if these get off, it's, you know, like you're off course. We're up high enough now. That mountain peak's the one I was worried about. I'm not quite sure which one that is. Yeah, I'm not quite sure which mountain that is. I know it's not Bachelor, and I don't think it's Hood, but it might be. It should tell us. Let's see if I can get up high enough. No. I don't know what the strip is here. Might be some skiing going on up here. There is quite a mountain range in here. There's a bunch. There's a lot of mountains. They call it the Sisters. And there's Mount Hood, there's Mount Rainier, there's Mount St. Helens, there's Mount Adams. There's a whole bunch of mountains in this range, in the Cascade Range. And every single one of them is a volcano. The Ring of Fire, basically. There is a lot of places on the freeways where you can stop and see all of them from one view, just turning your head.
Airbus 02 Sierra, contact Seattle Center on 132.6. Good day.
Now, obviously, some of those are in Washington State.
Airbus 02 Sierra.
Looks like we're getting a little bit of turbulence up here. And we're getting close to Redmond. I should be coming up on Redmond here. I think it's maybe in this valley right here. I might want to come down. All right, I've got us going down to about 4,000 feet. I might have to adjust that because I might not be exactly where I think I am. I still have to be wary of these mountains. So I'll come down. If it looks like I'm getting too low, I'll stop it and bring it back up again. Yeah, I'm not where I thought I was. All right, so I readjusted it. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to bring it down to 7 and see how close I am. The issue is I need to be down low enough to land once I get over this mountain range, but I don't want to have to nosedive down to do it. So I want to keep...
Seattle Center, generic November 5461 Quebec, 6,400 feet.
Yeah, see, they're way 6,400.
Generic November 5461 Quebec, Seattle Center altimeter, 29er.9er, to continue as planned.
So I think I'll be fine at
Ranger
7.
159er, contact Seattle approach on 126.15.
The large mountain range we've gotten over, so...
126.15 Ranger 159er. Seattle approach Ranger 159er 8,500 feet.
Ranger 159er Seattle approach altimeter 29er.9er2. Continue as planned.
Okay, so the barometer hasn't changed. I am nervous. Like I said, I'm brand new at this, and I'm watching a lot of people I mean, the first thing I did was set up about 20 different YouTube pages that I'm watching. Some of them are actual real life pilots. Some of them are enthusiasts of the game, but they're all much more educated and proficient than I am. So I'm really quite nervous. By the way, if you set up an actual flight plan, which I did and I didn't. All I did was set up a flight from one place to the other. If you were setting up a flight plan, you would do it in a way where you knew what the altitudes were in each area that you're flying into, and you would set that in the flight plan, and the autopilot would rise and fall where it needed to. And I'm learning how to do that. Like I said, I've already got something like that on my flight between Victoria, Canada, and Portland. I set up a whole route, and it wasn't just mine. I went in and watched somebody else do it, and I changed it because I wanted to go a different route. But I used the same things that person was doing, and I was able to set that so I didn't have to mess with it like I am right now. But right now, I just said fly, straight as an arrow, and don't worry about the altitude. I'll fix that en route. So we are getting close, though. As you can see, we're coming down into a valley. Now, Central Oregon is what they call high desert. There's an elevation here. It's not sea level. It's high desert, which is interesting. In the daytime, it's warm. At nighttime, it's friggin' cold. In Redmond, Oregon, there is virtually no rainfall. And when you say, well, that's impossible, it's always going to rain somewhere, and that's true. What they mean is there's no measurable rainfall. It does rain, but it doesn't usually rain enough to be measured. Now, you drive just a few miles out of town and you start getting rainfall and snowfall. Like Bend gets snow all during the winter, quite a bit, I guess, compared to Redmond. Redmond will get a little bit of snow, but really not much. But they're able to say that they can that they don't get any rainfall. Three Rivers Recreation Area is a resort, a private resort. Eagle Crest is a resort that we have our condo at, and it is in Redmond. Three Rivers Recreation is in kind of Sisters area. Because I have a hard time lining up to the runways. It takes practice. It really does. And it's easier when you put a flight plan in that sets you up with a runway, so you know which runway you're going to. I'm not doing that. I'm just playing the game, and I'm not doing it, realistically, because I'm just learning to fly. I'm learning to land. I'm learning to take off. I'm learning to line up with the runways, and I don't always do it correctly. A lot of times I'm too high. Sometimes I'm too low. Sometimes my speed is too fast. There's a whole bunch of things, and I'm just practicing. The biggest part for me is actually getting lined up with the airport. I'll find sometimes that I'm coming in at an angle, and then I have to turn the plane just to line up correctly with the landing strip, and it's kind of a mess. But like I said, practice. Yeah, we're getting very close. I'm going to go ahead and come on down. I'm at 7,000. I'm set to 7,000 now. I want to come down to about 3,000 or 4,000 before I get to the airport. So let me do that. Get a little bit of turbulence here. I'm coming down pretty fast, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be down. Part of it is because I'm you know, with you guys. I'll use that as an excuse. Most of the time, I'm really paying attention. I'm really nervous, and so I wouldn't have flown in that high that long. I would have started coming down right over that mountain range, and I didn't do that. I just let it fly, enjoying the scenery and chatting with you guys. But we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Like I said, if I don't get down low enough by the time I get to the airport, then I can always just do a go around, and that's probably what I'm going to have to do. I think that's the airport right in front of us, and I'm way too high. And I don't think it's worth nose diving. I'm not going to take control and just do a all-out nose dive. It's not worth it. And it's not right. Now, interestingly enough, Bend is a bigger city than Redmond, but it has a tiny airport compared to Redmond. Redmond actually has an international style airport. And I think it's because of Eagle Crest, the place where I've got my my condo. Eagle Crest, it's a big resort. I think it's got like at least 3 golf courses. It's got condominiums, and it has houses, actual houses and property that you can buy. I came into that very early. I think I got into one of the first 200 condos. As a matter of fact, my condo wasn't even built when I bought it. It was on the plans, but it wasn't built. Boy, we better come down here pretty quick. If I'm not mistaken, they use Google Maps on this game. They've been adding updates quite often on that too, where they're adding more and more detail in each update that they do. Well, so far I haven't actually seen the airline. That's one of the hardest things. You know, when you go outside your house and look around at ground level, and you'd think it'd be easy to fly over and see your house. It isn't. Things just don't look the same from up above. It doesn't at all. And one of the hardest things for me is finding the damn airports. If I didn't have a GPS to take me right straight to it, but then see, once you get to it, you got to see which way the runways go, and then you got to line up to them, and that's where I'm having trouble. Because I'm not choosing a runway, you know, and putting it into a flight plan. If you do that, it takes you right to your runway. And I'll do that later. Like I said, I'm still learning. All right, Roberts Field, that's where we're going. Let me get in here, and I'm going to take the autopilot off. And then we're going to get up in here and fly this thing. I'm going to take it down a little bit closer to the ground. Maybe cut back on some speed. You can fly perfectly fine around 100 miles an hour. Or, well, it's knots, I guess. 100 knots an hour. So we're just getting down here. Uh-oh. That's going to be a problem if I keep losing my vision like that. Uh-oh. Come on. I don't know. That's going to be tough. I can't have that happen when I... Shoot. Hang on. All right. I took it off. Now, if you notice, it says we're 2,000. That's not right. Remember I told you that this was high desert? We were coming from a little lower elevation. Yeah, a little bit of turbulence. Let me get rid of this. There, I don't need it. Now, bear with me. With a little bit more experience, I wouldn't have been out as far as I am. But I just didn't want to, at the last minute, have to nose dive in and try to find the airport and runway. I'm looking for the runway because I don't know which direction it's going. Because I'm just kind of picking one and going to land. And I've landed a few times in airports and not even hit the runway. A couple of times I've landed on the taxiway because I'm just learning. You need to get experience in bringing it down straight, lining up correctly, and staying lined up. I'm using rudder pedals that I'm not used to. Okay, I think that we might be running. Let's see. Yeah, the runway might be going that way. So let me bring it around. Believe it or not, it's harder to land at night, but it's easier because of the lighting. Because they've got a lot of the big airports have lights that come on and show you which direction to go. And there's a glide path that you can hit that brings you in. Now we're facing Bend Municipal. That's the next town over. But let's do a little bit of rubbernecking over here and see if we can see the runway. There's the runway. I was right. It did go that way. So let's see if we can kind of line up on this thing. And then I'm going to cut the power because we're going way too fast. Well, not way too fast, but a little bit too fast. And this is the hard part. Getting lined up and staying lined up. That's the hard part for me. Now,
approach generic November 00006, 6,400 feet. Generic November 00006, Seattle approach altimeter 29er to continue as planned.
I'm actually was coming in a little bit too high. See, staying lined up is not easy. It's not easy. So not the best landing. Not the best landing, but we're down. Throw the brakes on. Well, we made it. Like I said, the hardest part I have is let's see, which way do we go? Let's go to the right a little. The hardest part I have is staying lined up. Oh, maybe that's not the way. Where's the terminal? Way back there. Okay, let's get off this runway before a jetliner comes in. The other part I'm having trouble with is steering with your feet. You steer this thing with your feet. You don't steer it with this. See, that doesn't do anything. And that's when right foot, no left foot, no right foot. it's confusing. I think I need to be turned around. So let me throw some brakes on. And give it a little left rudder. And slowly turn this thing around. You got to be careful on the speed too. When you're on the ground, if you give it too much speed, that it doesn't turn when you want it to turn, because it wants to fly, if that makes sense. But yeah, what I really should do is just practice being on the runway and just driving the plane around until I get used to doing the feet, steering with my feet. Can you imagine? It'd be like eating with your feet. Put a fork and a spoon in between your toes and going at it. All right, I'm going too fast. Let me cut the speed down. Well, that was fun, and it wasn't perfect, but we didn't crash, and we made it, and the weather's beautiful in good old Redmond, Oregon. Let me get this thing parked. I still have to fly home, but that's a story for another day. Yeah, see, the other thing is you got to remember airplanes are light. That's how they can fly, and you any little bit of wind, and you've got to steer out of it, even on the ground. Rudder pedals are kind of weird. That's what I'm steering with. The thing of it is your foot goes on the pad, but the steering is by shuffling your feet. You shuffle forward or backward. You know, if you want to go left, you shuffle you shuffle your foot forward, and you go left. With your left foot, you go left. If you do that right, you go right. The problem is that the pedals also, if you push down on your foot, whoa, where are we going? You hit the brakes, and so you gotta learn to fly without hitting the brakes. Now, you push forward on your foot, and that's the brake. So a lot of people, they don't put their foot on the pedal like you would think, with the heel at the back and the toe on the front. They don't do that. They take their toe and they put it down on the heel part. So they're just sliding the thing forward and backward, and not putting the brakes on. And then when you came in, like when I came in just now and landed, I actually put my heel where the heel goes and my toe where the toe goes, because I was going to be braking. Now you have to get used to then steering that way too, because you know that's how the plane gets turned. Anyway, let me put the brake on, and we're here. We made it. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. All right, let's see. First of all, oh, I didn't put my landing lights on. Oh well, it's not dark. Let's turn the lights off. We're going to turn the engine off, and then we'll turn the power off. Oh, I have it set to when I turn the engine off, it ends my flight. And then we'll turn the master battery off and turn the auxiliary off, and we are down and off. And let's put the mixture in. And welcome to Redmond, Oregon. That's it for today. I hope you had fun. I'm shaking like a leaf, but I'll get over it. I'll get better, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. Hope to see you again soon. Ta-ta for now.